Distinguished Mr. Secretary General, it is with great pleasure that I welcomed to Warsaw today, officially, Mr. Mark Rutte, the new NATO Secretary General. It was a big pleasure to personally congratulate Mr. Secretary General on assuming this incredibly important function. We have known each other for many years, and I am delighted. I would like to express my great joy and satisfaction that such an experienced politician, who also, in terms of the work of NATO, has got such vast achievements over the last 14 years, has come into this crucially important office following Jens Stoltenberg. We congratulate you, Mr. Secretary General. We are delighted that precisely a politician who knows NATO so well, who for so many years has participated in NATO works, in consecutive NATO summits, who has been watching the development of the North Atlantic Alliance, and who has participated in it for the last years. You have always been actually in the center of work of NATO as a Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Netherlands for the last 14 years. So it is fair to say that that is the vast part of the time in which Poland has been member of NATO, because this year we have marked the 25th anniversary of our membership of NATO. And you, Mr. Secretary General, have been participating in the NATO summits for 14 years. So it is fair to say that the vast part of our presence in NATO has been going on under the aegis of you, Mr. Secretary General. So that is why we are so happy with you being in this post, because NATO is working in these very challenging times. It has to develop itself and has to face up to the challenges which we are facing today. So we need somebody with vast experience to be able to be in this so important post. That is why I'm so happy that I was able to congratulate you personally on your election. And I would like to thank you, Mr. Secretary General, for coming to Warsaw here today. It is important that today you are meeting the most important Polish politicians. And this is a very significant day to us and to NATO, because on this day we are officially inaugurating ballistic missile defense of the United States and of NATO at the same time in Redzikowo. This installation, of course, acquired its operational capability some time ago, but the official opening ceremony took place today, on the day when you are paying a visit here to Poland, Mr. Secretary General. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have just had a meeting of delegations. We have discussed the most important current affairs which are on the table in NATO in general, which are important also from our Polish perspective. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary General, for warm words about Poland. Thank you for appreciating our defense spending and also our policy in this respect. Indeed, we are spending more than 4% of our GDP right now, and next year we're planning to increase that up to the level of 4.7% of our GDP. Furthermore, I am delighted that Mr. Secretary General is a supporter of making sure that every NATO member takes a decision to increase their defense spending. That is the offer that I made, the proposal that I made back in March. I presented it to President Biden during our visit to the White House. I said that I believe that NATO countries should spend at least 3% of their GDP on defense, as unfortunately it used to be the case in the Cold War, because Russian imperialism is reborn, and today NATO has to face up to the task. It has to make sure to be ready to defend. Russia switched its military production to the war mode. It is producing huge amounts of ammunition and equipment for its armed forces right now. And because of that, NATO has to face up to that situation. Without raising NATO spending, that is not going to be possible. And when I hear some politicians saying that Europe should try to be self-sufficient in terms of its defensive capabilities, it is hard to imagine. You can't really imagine Europe to be able to defend itself whatsoever against Russian imperialism in a situation when in Europe we still have got countries which are spending less than 2% of GDP on defense. Hence, I believe that as long as we do not raise, all of us, that defense spending, we do not really have to anything to talk about in terms of European defensive capabilities. But first and foremost, I believe that we should be tightening our bonds with the United States within NATO. To me, this is something obvious. This is the largest armed forces in NATO right now that the U.S. has. So good cooperation with the U.S. tightening the alliance is of fundamental importance for our security. We also discussed in this very context, together with Mr. Secretary General, about increasing military production in Europe in the context of increasing defense spending. What we are doing in Poland, we also have such plans, and that is also the signal that I sent to Mr. Secretary General. Of course, I also raised the issue which is so important to us, that is a consistent implementation of NATO decisions on increasing NATO presence and NATO readiness on the eastern flank. The battalion groups have to be efficiently transformed, scaled up to the level of brigades, and this has to be ensured across all the countries along NATO's eastern flank, wherever NATO forces are present. We have no doubts about that whatsoever. This process has to be continued, and we really have to make sure that member states of NATO fulfill these obligations, because, as I said, this is the decision that we adopted during the Madrid summit. Then we renewed it in Vilnius, and we repeated the same in Washington. So it has to be implemented. I also mentioned to Mr. Secretary General once again that we believe that pipelines which provide access to fuel to NATO member states should be extended from Western Europe, first and foremost from Germany, also to reach the eastern flank. This is a topic which is well known to Mr. Secretary General, because we have raised it many times, among others, also at the last Washington summit. Mr. Secretary General is saying that to a large extent, of course, this is a matter of co-financing. We are open to all the issues concerning co-financing. We believe that this is one of the fundamental elements to provide efficient defense of the eastern flank of NATO and readiness on the eastern flank of NATO should there be a threat of any kind of aggression. And last but not least, another topic that we raised is also crucially important for NATO right now. I'm referring to Ukraine. As NATO, we are supporting Ukraine, and it is obvious to us that we should do everything possible to make sure that Russia does not win this war. We must not let Russia win this war. We have to stop Russia. We, as the free world, this is a matter of efficient organization of assistance for Ukraine by NATO member states. We also discussed the MiG-29s that we still have, because some of our MiG jets have been transferred to Ukraine by us. We did that some time ago, just like some of our helicopters from the Soviet era, which we had at our disposal. But we still have one squadron of MiG jets. So there is a matter of taking a decision on this one. We are using these MiG jets right now. It is a serious thing. These are MiG-29s, which are operating during the air policing mission, which we are involved in. If we should give it to Ukraine, there is one fundamental precondition. Our skies have to be secure. So the thing is that NATO should provide the security of our skies by moving jets from other NATO member states, and to provide the protection of the Polish airspace as well as the airspace over other countries of the eastern flank. What we are seeing here are constant Russian provocations. We are seeing permanent violations of NATO member states by Russian planes. we are seeing a threat, a potential threat of Russian missiles. As you know, those missiles have violated Polish airspace on several occasions. So because of that, we need to provide the security of Polish skies and the skies of eastern flank states. This is an obvious thing to us. It is fundamental. It is basic to us, and we are going to stick to that. As long as we do not have full guarantees, so long are we not in a position to transfer our jets, because we need them to provide our security here. But generally, that is something that I stressed also during my conversation with Mr. Secretary General. Poland is providing assistance to Ukraine on a daily basis because, as a matter of fact, we are a transit country in terms of assistance to Ukraine. Without our infrastructure, Ukraine would be in a very difficult position, and the provision of assistance to Ukraine would be very complicated. Our infrastructure helps in providing that assistance every day. So it is fair to say that we provide assistance and help to Ukraine every single day. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, let me express my gratitude and my delight due to the visit of Mr. Secretary General. Once again, my warm congratulations, Mr. Secretary General. I'm looking forward to our cooperation also in the future. As I said, we have known each other well, and I have no doubt whatsoever that, first of all, this function will be executed in a very professional way, excellent way, with benefit for our security. I'm sure that we will have a very good atmosphere of understanding and permanent contact with us. Mr. Secretary General, once again, thank you for your assistance, for your presence. Thank you very much, Mr. President. And now I'm giving the floor to Mr. Secretary General, Mr. Mark Rutte.